everyone. This is Masako Ganaha, and today I'm in Switzerland, Lucerne, and I had this great opportunity to interview Mr. Pascal Najadi. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Masako-san, welcome to Lucerne. Thank you for coming all the way from Okinawa, Japan, to visit me in Lucerne. Thank you. Arigato.
Thank you very much. I'm so excited to ask you many questions.
Sure.
And as you can see, I took a lot of notes,
yes.
so that I can ask you questions.
Yes, you can. Any question, of course.
Thank you. So recently, I watched a lot of your interviews, and you have your own YouTube channel too, and you have been fighting in many ways. And recently, many media are interviewing you concerning about the you filed criminal charges against your government. So that's one thing I would like to ask you during this interview. And the reason why I came to Switzerland this month is because this World Economic Forum Davos conference was held. And I was here to cover this conference because I wanted to know what is really happening. And by watching one of your interviews, I found out that your father, I really respect him. As the more research I do, the more I respect I get.
Thank you.
So, and your father, Hussain Najadi, being one of the founder of World Economic Forum, you mentioned. So I would like to ask you those two topics. So first of all, could you please tell us, my main viewers are from Japan. So could you please introduce yourself?
Well, Masako-san, again, arigato. Welcome all the Japanese friends in Japan. I'm very glad to be able to talk to you. And thank you for the questions that you have. Brief introduction about me and my family, maybe? Is that
please.
what you would like to hear? I am Swiss national, patriot, proud. I was born here in 1967 in Lucerne. My mother is Swiss, from Lucerne. Her family goes back to one of the old presidents of Switzerland in relationship of my mother and Federal Council, Rudolf Minger. He was president up to the Second World War. My father, late father, was Hussain Najadi. He was a banker. We had banks in Malaysia, in Hong Kong, and in Bahrain. My father was of Persian origin. Unfortunately, he was assassinated in Malaysia on the 29th of July 2013. I did my normal schooling in Switzerland and worked with UBS in Zurich. Then I became a specialist for Central Europe capital markets. We had a lot of clients, Nomura in Tokyo and other banks in Japan. They were buying our papers, which we produced out of Central Europe first, Hungary, Czech Republic, Poland, government papers. I advised always governments, only governments, and sometimes head of state. Then I became a board member of Dresdner Kleinwort Benson in London. At the age of 29, I was responsible for government relations and capital markets and strategic advisory to heads of states and ministers for the Russian Federation, for Central Asia, for Middle East, including the Gulf, Africa, the continent, and Central Europe. Then I joined my father after being 1 year in Kazakhstan with President Nazarbayev in 2005 and 2006. I became chief representative of Bombardier Aerospace for the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. In 2008, I joined my father and our family company firm, a merchant banking firm in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And again, until the tragedy happened when he got assassinated in 2013, my mother and me, we decided to come back to Switzerland. Since then, we are here.
Well, thank you very much. Once again, I realized I watched a lot of interviews of you and your father also. And your father was talking about giving opportunity to young people. And I realized you were saying you're working with the government at the age of 29.
Yes.
That's why I showed a surprising face. But
True.
So I would like to learn a lot from you today. And first, first I would like to talk about this World Economic Forum. So recently you published a video, but unfortunately it was not in English, so I could not.
So you learned German, or?
Yeah, I should. So yes, so you were talking about the title of the video was World Economic Forum 2030 agenda, I think.
Correct.
So could you please give us overall thought on World Economic Forum and your father being one of the founders of World Economic Forum?
Yes, my father got together with Klaus Schwab in the mid-70s. At that time, the forum was not called World Economic Forum. It was the European Management Forum, I believe,
yes.
EMF. It was a different format. It was a very good thing. It was gathering of ministers, central bankers, and heads of states. Mainly, at that time they called it LDC, Lower Developed Countries. Today we say it differently. We say emerging markets. It sounds better. Because if you say lower developed, it's condescendent. Anyway, the market used the word now emerging markets. Those were Latin American states. We had, and they were by no means lower developed. We had the Arabs, we had the Kuwaitis, royal family, the Saudis, the Bahrainis, the Emiratis, Omanis coming, the Malaysians, Singaporeans, Indonesians, and Filipinos as well, Marcos. We had gatherings. I was a kid then in Davos in a modest format, maybe 50, 70 people, no bodyguards, no police, no media, no guests, just the gentlemen together sharing information, how they could learn from each other to apply new ideas regarding building their countries. It was a good thing. However, my father was not very happy with Klaus Schwab in the early 80s. I don't know the real reasons, but he decided to step away from this organization because he was very busy. He was doing it pro bono, not as a job, pro bono, meaning for free. He had 4 banks to run, which was our family operation, and he was very busy. So he separated. The format of today is completely different. In, I think, 1987, Klaus Schwab decided to change the name from EMF to WEF, World Economic Forum. The format became much bigger. It had paying guests, attendees, and it grew to that big forum that you know in Davos now, the World Economic Forum. And as you know, on the website, everybody can go and see there is Agenda 2030. Now, if you look at the topics, if you study the topics, you will find out that many ideas are maybe, in my view, not very good for democracy and freedom of the people. I'm concerned about these trends personally, in my opinion, because I've been advising governments all my life and heads of states. I believe it's difficult to understand how a private NGO, it's a private NGO,
yes,
private NGO, can influence to that degree governments around the world is worrying. If they exchange information, fine. If there's an open forum to discuss ideas, fine. But if it becomes policy on the government above the people, I don't think it's a good idea. That's my view.
Yes. Okay, so back in the day when your father was helping, you said pro bono, helping those organizations, and I recall, I read somewhere your father was the chairman of
emerging markets.
Oh,
correct.
Chairman of this conference at that time.
Yes.
And so he left this organization or left Klaus Schwab, and you just said you don't know the reason. So, but you were a little bit talking about Klaus Schwab has changed characteristic, correct?
Yes.
Is it okay if you could explain?
Excuse me. My father told me that he didn't like the way Klaus Schwab changed.
Oh, so he has changed?
Yes.
Oh, from what to what?
From an active, friendly, caring, gathering, rassembleur, bring people together person, to a dominant person, giving a dictate.
Wow. Oh.
You understand?
Yes.
It's different.
Yes, very different.
He was very humble at the beginning, like we all are humble, but something, maybe the success changed his mentality. I don't know.
Oh, I see.
It's my personal opinion.
Yes,
my father too, he said, I don't want to continue working with him.
I see. This is a very valuable moment for us to, because person like him only appears on TV, so we don't know what exactly happens or what people think around him in person. So it's very interesting to know that your father felt he has changed.
Yes. You see, my father also did a lot of business with Japan, with your country. Hitachi Sozen.
Oh.
We were building fast ships designed from Switzerland, built in Japan. So my father always told me about the great culture of Japan and Japanese.
Wow.
It's a culture of respect and humbleness. And Klaus Schwab was the opposite.
So do you know if what did your father took place in the first conference, or what was his role?
Always the chairman of developing countries.
Oh.
Yes, he brought the royal families from the Gulf and the Malaysians and the Singaporeans, Lee Kuan Yew and other people.
So he was a person to introduce people all over
and to
the
bring
world.
them to Davos and made the panel, to moderate the panel.
I see.
For this section. Yes.
And at that time, he believed in what this organization did.
Yeah, it was good. It was a gathering, sharing information, sharing trends, exchanging views.
I see.
It was like a private format, like we are talking now. It was not stressful. You went skiing sometimes together. You get to know each other.
Oh, yes.
You're Prime Minister from Japan. I'm a federal council from Switzerland. I don't know you very well, but we go skiing together. It's a different, you get to know each other, not just at work. And it was the spirit of Davos.
Oh, I see.
Work, but also sport, doing things together, which is not just, sharing files and presentations.
I see.
Or memos and stuff.
I see.
Yeah.
As I look into this World Economic Forum, and there was this article talking about Klaus Schwab invited a archbishop he admires. And the name of the archbishop, I wanted to tell you correctly, so let me see the memo I took. So Archbishop Helder Camera. Yes, and Klaus Schwab met Archbishop in Brazil mid 1970s.
Okay.
And this Archbishop was the actual founder of liberation theology. Liberation theology being the socialism in Christianity. So this article was talking about how the ideological background of this Archbishop and Klaus Schwab. So, was there any mention of this archbishop or this ideology?
Not religion was not part. I was, I was, I tell you, I was 10 years old.
I see, yes.
I went there to Davos to join them for skiing and stuff, but I did not attend the meetings. I was 10.
I see. So your memory is like going to Davos.
Yes, with them. But I don't remember that religion at that time was on the platform at all.
Oh, I see.
Maybe today it is. I don't know.
Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you very much. Sure. So I would like to ask more about your father.
Sure.
So he was the founder of Bank, Arab Malaysian banking group.
Correct.
And I watched a video. And it was the conversation in a BMW.
BMW, yes, correct.
Yes. And he himself was driving the car.
Correct, and talking.
Yes, talking to the journalist.
Yes.
And in this video, he said, I quote,
Please.
Malaysian self-reliance on its own capital market. Contrarily to many other countries, they went borrowing from outside. What happened to Greece is opposite of Malaysia. Malaysia, by creating local capital market, we Malaysia rely on our own. Nobody to dictate us, no IMF, no World Bank, no big banks, no Goldman Sachs, no JP Morgan, no Barclays, no Deutsche Bank. That is one of Malaysian tremendous economic and financial strength.
Correct.
By hearing him saying this, I believe he believed in nationalism. Or how should I explain?
I'd like to differ.
Okay.
Because nationalism, as you know, gives a connotation to extremism to the right. Nationalism.
Okay.
Let's call it patriotism.
Yes. Okay, yes, I agree.
Let's call it a patriotic economic policy.
Okay.
For instance.
Yes.
Because, look, take our country, Switzerland, as an example. We're very small. We used to be very humble. We used to be not in the Security Council. Now we are. I personally don't think it's right because we are neutral. We should remain neutral. Okay, fine. We have the banks, we have industry, services, manufacturing, and some agriculture. And of course, medicine. As an example, my strategy would be for Switzerland to focus on the strength regarding health of our health industry. We have, you know that, the world's best pharmaceutical companies are in Switzerland, right? We have the world's best amongst, medical universities in Switzerland. We have amongst the world's best medical professors and researchers, okay? We have the world's best, nicest hospitals. Can we rely on ourselves or not? We can. The aim should be like a family, that you are self-reliant. In the case of banking, of course, we are center of the world for banking. The Bank of International Settlements is in Switzerland. It's a very important function for the world. Switzerland is not dependent on the World Bank, although we have exchange of ideas. Of course, why not? I say, or my father meant, to be independent, sovereign, remain sovereign, and use the decentralized knowledge around the world.
Knowledge?
Yes. So let's say there's a new financial technology coming out of New York, example, or out of Tokyo, something new, a new trend. We send a delegation to Tokyo, or we invite the Japanese to Zurich or Geneva to learn and then exchange bilateral contracts to work together. We don't need a global, supranational, unelected body above our constitution to tell us what to do, like WHO is doing, because we have all the information ourselves, right? Yes. So what my father meant is a patriotic approach in the economy, education, to remain in Malaysia. Economic policy to be made in Malaysia. Trade policy to be made in Malaysia, right? That's what he meant. Not nationalism, which is, again, we have borders. We have to, like Japan, have sovereign borders, and you have a military, etc. And a security policy. But you have open borders for knowledge, people, services, and goods. You trade bilaterally.
Yes, yes.
Not through a rule from the top. Like the EU Commission is becoming a monster, telling every country what to do and take tax money, and it goes somewhere.
Somewhere.
Yeah, you understand?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what he meant.
I see.
It's you remain self-reliant. You focus on your economy and economic policy, on your government policies, and again, you share the knowledge on other platforms with other countries. Yes. And you take knowledge from other countries to the country to apply it to your government's policy.
Yes.
That's what he meant.
I see. I really what should I say? Fundamental philosophy of what he believes is very. I love patriotic philosophy, and so and then he on the other interview, there was a radio, and done in 2013.
Yes.
March 20th.
Yes.
And the radio program, the segment is called Hussain Najadi Tells It Like It Is. And if I may quote,
please.
Too much funds are going out of the country without knowledge of anybody. And you must ask yourself why. When I look at this struggling amount going out of other centers, Hong Kong, Singapore, Shanghai, London, Switzerland, it really bothers me. Something seriously going wrong. We are not open to talk about it. We should examine it, why, and go for the root of the problem and solve it. And so the context I should put, because your father spoke like it is. So he was put in prison for 7 years.
In Bahrain, yes.
In Bahrain.
Unjustified. In 85, we had a bank called Arab Asia Bank in Bahrain. It was owned by my father, and we had a shareholder. I don't want to say the name. He was a royal family member of the Gulf.
Yes, okay.
From Bahrain. He had a loan. Well, he was a 10% shareholder only. 10%. He had a loan of $76 million from our bank. He took a loan.
Yes.
Then he decided in 85 not to pay back, not to service the loan. My father said, we had an office in Geneva and our holding was here in Switzerland. My father said, I will go to Bahrain. I tell him, you must pay the loan like everybody else, like Yugoslavia, like other countries, they had loans with us. Of course, it's not a good idea to tell a royal in the country of where you are from, in this, or these monarchies. You cannot speak like that.
I see.
You can do that in Switzerland, in Germany, in London, in New York. That was his mistake. So they took him into the desert.
Desert?
Yes. And we had no contact for a long time. No lawyers, nothing, no defense. However, 7 years he got released. I made pressure in Washington with the World Bank meetings, with the help of a German bank from Frankfurt. It was Deutsche Bank. It was a help we got from the late Alfred Herrhausen, who was a friend. Unfortunately, Alfred Herrhausen got killed in a assassination near Frankfurt in 1989. Anyway, my father got released because we made pressure, but they took his passport. They kept him another 7 years without passports on the island, so 14 years. Then I organized a rescue operation, and we rescued him from Bahrain outside, and he went then to Washington, D.C., and through that process, he came back to Malaysia.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So after this, he spoke what happened to him on this radio. I see. In this interview, he talks about how the banker should be, the philosophy, and I really liked how he said. So I would like to quote again. So when he was asked about his imprisonment for 7 years in Bahrain, and I quote, "Every banker, in my terminology, must be good German Shepherd dog, a guardian. Bankers by nature, the trustee of the people's fund. When you sit behind the desk in a bank, the money in the bank does not belong to you. It belongs to depositors who entrusted you with the funds. When of the powerful ruling member of the family of the, I could not hear this part, sorry, of the Berlin asked me for reduction of their loan up to 50% of the loan and the interest outstanding, I vehemently rejected."
Correct.
So now I realized that he had really strong philosophy.
Yeah.
And he influenced you a lot in how a banker should be.
Well, in all aspects, integrity.
Integrity.
That's it.
Could you please tell us what you have learned? I think that leads to what you are doing right now, standing up.
Well, look, all my life in the banking world, advising governments, I saw a lot of different cultures. You can imagine. You are in Africa, then you are in the Middle East. The next week you are in Moscow, then you're in Kazakhstan. You see different modalities, different government policies, different ways of ruling and management. However, integrity is everywhere. You need to maintain at all times. So it shaped me a lot. And I'm a person, because it happened to my father, what happened to him in his life, I have a very strong sense of justice. And I'm very sensitive for injustice. That's maybe what it is.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
And you are still fighting?
No, fighting. Fighting is a negative word. I would say I am doing my best as a citizen, because, you know, in our constitution, you can read it online. Article 6, it says, every citizen of Switzerland has the right and the duty to protect and maintain the democracy, constitution, justice, and respect the law. So every citizen has a duty to constantly protect our, again, democracy, constitution, justice, law.
Oh, I see.
We have the study of February 21 of Pfizer. You saw it. Confidential study. It's in the internet now.